Bonjour, Kinamagan in Ireland and Dishnikas, and welcome to this overview of our Week 3 learning plan for the 5th grade. We begin today's episode in our Google Classroom. This is the stream page. It's accessible only by our students using their @sagchipschool.net email addresses. What I recommend is that if you have access to a device at home, that you let them log in. They could do that using the Google Chrome browser and then access the Google Classroom using this up here. So if they're logged in as them on a browser even, you can scroll down and get to the Google Classroom. Over the course of the next few episodes, we'll be talking a lot about it as we ramp up our use of technology and making sure that it's available to all of us if something weird happens. So our stream page is announcements that are just as much for parents as students in most cases. You'll see on here right now, I have a join a class for Newsella. Students will be returning and doing that this week. It's not something they've had the opportunity to see yet, but it'll be a source that we do some assignments on. You see our newsletter. This newsletter will be attached to this video link in the email, but it's also available here. And then you'll see that we're going to include our week's learning plan, and this is week 2 from this past week. Week 1, generally I only keep 1 up there, but early on in the year, I'll go up to about 3 and then dial it back. There's important information if you need to reach me. The student can just click right here and then email me using their Gmail. There's no time restraints for when they should email me. If I'm awake, I will reply. There is a texting feature that uses a Google Voice account. I do ask that you not call in the middle of the night. My dogs will bark, and that's not good. Texting is preferred even if it's later at night. During the school day, if you need to reach me, it's best to call the school or send this text or an email. I will check all of those things. If it's in regards to the go home plan, so if you needed to change who's doing the pickup, or if you're instead of riding the bus pickup, please actually call the front office for those changes. You have a link to the sagchipschool.net account. You can download an app, and it's really helpful in the winter when there's going to be delays and cancellations. I strongly recommend it. I have it on my phone. You can get it from the App Store or from Google Play. It's free. It's helpful. I also have a classroom remind that I will try to put out important information on. You should have received this document at the beginning of the school year. If your student didn't bring it home, you can access the PDF here. You just have to send a text message. You'll get them. I may put some school cancellations, but this is not your definitive source for those. This would be, but things like field trips and basic reminders for our class specifically, I will send out as well. We also have a classwork page for students. It has our Zoom links. I do run a Zoom as part of my classroom day. In theory, if a student was homesick, they could access it for sure. And it's labeled by the day. Announcements. This video will be under the classroom announcements. We have a classroom link to the Padlet, and the Padlet has a lot of great resources, and we'll talk a little bit more about that right now. As you can see, and this is the same Padlet, it has our information, different resources. So if a student's like, I can't remember the link, which with how many resources we use is absolutely possible, they could go here and then click on it. Well, let's say for a moment that we also went to, well, let's finish this part here. Sorry, get ahead of myself. Reading, here's the stuff we've done in the first 2, and now this will be this week coming up. It's still in gray because it hasn't gone live for the students. Writing. Words Their Way is our spelling. That will actually start in week 4. There's still a few students that we need to assess. So instead of having certain students doing it, we opted to push it off 1 more week. Math chapter 1, and now we're going to be entering chapter 2. Later on this week, all of chapter 1 will be archived from here. And there are spots where students could still access older material if they wanted to review. I haven't introduced that to them yet, probably in a few weeks. I don't want to overwhelm them. We do math review and enrichment. These are short 15-minute mini lessons on things that either they should know or I want to see where they're at on it. So they're useful for me in kind of giving a whole class intervention if I need to. You'll see our science material. Some of these will be coming down here at the probably for week 4. So if a student's missing something and they've been present, I may be letting them know here. Social studies week 1 will be archived this week. After this week, something if they want to look back on. There was no chapter 1 assessment, so it is something we just use to review. Here's what our social studies is for this year. We're moving into a new unit now. Technology. Now, while it does say in here days, these are accessible anytime. Like if a student wants at home, wants to do typing.com on a Saturday because they're bored and it's raining, absolutely. Same thing with NitroType, code.org. These are student guided, so they can participate anytime they want. This is the only assignment one, and we've adjusted the date. It was pushed off from last week. We'll be doing a little bit of this, but students could work ahead even on that. I will be showing them a little bit about this before I recommend that they take off on their own. Weekly expected basics, which is going to have a different name, but it'll still be under the web. We have some links to do geography, ST math, our citizenship study. This will be 6 to 10 has gone live, but it'll be for this week. There will be an assessment that comes up here in a few days. It's on Friday for them to do. If a student hasn't done this yet, they still need to do such. But it's a great opportunity to understand government so that they become the leaders of it. segchipschool.net. This is our school email, school website. You can see a part our AB team and Kitamage Kwe Isaac on the cover. There's a lot of information here. If you scroll down, you can see important live feed notes, calendar information. Up here under Explore, we can get to teacher pages. You search for your teacher. It is in alphabetical order. So I'm over here. A brief bio. But the important part is if you click on the class, this includes our week 3 learning plan, the calendar. I will have important notes. This is not the only spot you will find notes, but you can see actually streaming back into the last school year. But I put up announcements here as well. The idea being that the more accessible this is, the easier it is for you as a parent and easier it is for the students. Finally today, let's look at our week 3 learning plan. This kind of shows what our student will be learning. You can see that we are closed today, the 6th, in honor of Labor Day, and that's the day I'm recording this video. Quite often I'll be recorded late in the week so that you have the weekend to prepare. We'll be doing an assessment week in our support coach. So they'll get to read independently and do the assignment. And we have Scholastic, which is a really cool resource at the end. Writing City, we're moving on in here. And you'll notice quite frequently, once every week or two, I have a makeup day. Sometimes students fall behind. It is an online based thing, so they can work on Writing City at home. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you have in that regard. But I do like to give an opportunity for catch up here and there so that students don't feel stressed. Math, this week we're going to be reviewing place value on Tuesday when we return. Wednesday is our chapter 1 assessment. And then we'll move into chapter 2, which is multiplication. Science, we're doing our first full mystery this week as it runs through here. Social studies, we're looking at colonization to about 1620. We began with the Pacific Northwest, looking at the environment and how people use adapted to that environment. And then we'll move into the Southwest. Here's our math review and enrichment. You can see it spelled out what we're doing each day. The tech guidelines, so I know which one to assign each day. And you could say, oh, what's tech choice? Well, tech choice on Fridays gives them students an opportunity to choose whichever one they want. So if they didn't finish basics quest 1, that would be ideal. If they wanted to do some more nitro type, students love that one. Or code.org has a pretty popular following. And that's where they could just say, this is the one I want to do. Sometimes student choice is very important. Our Wondrous Educational block, which used to be the weekly expected basics. You see ST Math is always on there. It's a good place to practice their math skills. Reading for 20 minutes, although I do schedule actual time for that during the day. Even on days off, I advise students to read for 20 minutes. Research shows that it's very advantageous for students to read for 20 minutes. Does not need to be academic. It can be for pleasure, as long as it's something that is accessible to them. If it's something like they can't make out any of the words, or it's in a completely foreign language, it may not be as useful. Handwriting is something we do in class at this point. And then you see our citizenship and geography. Geography, they'll be launching the first time. Feedback from previous 5th grade classes talked about the geography education as a pretty big component in their 6th grade social studies. So we wanted to provide every opportunity for the students to have that background to be successful next year. You can see it also includes a link. It says students may access the live stream via the Google Classroom, as I showed you before. I know that's a lot of information. These videos will come out generally on Saturdays, most weeks, as we really ramp up things. Please feel free to communicate with me if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, as we are all partners in your students' education. I hope you have a Minogija on this Labor Day. Lamapi.